Well, having done over 200 videos on climate on this channel, I thought that, I'd pretty well covered most things, but you've guessed it, I haven't. And what I hadn't covered is the danger of men's trousers to the future of mankind. And what I'm going to expose here is just that danger as exposed by these people. There we are here, and one is University of Leeds work, and then Arup, their consultants, and then of course the C40 cities, and of course in the case of the UK, London's a C40 city, backed up by this chap here. And so with these authorities, I want to show you a report that's been written, which you have to take seriously because all the previous reports have been applied. And what the report does is it says, if you don't do these things, we're not going to meet our net zero targets. So we're going to look in this video at the things we have to do. But first of all, I'm going to isolate, just as they did in their report, the danger from men's trousers. So here we are. Let's look at the danger from men's trousers. Well, so here is the report that this video is based upon, and it's called The Future of Urban Consumption in a 1.5 degree centigrade World, C40 Cities. And it's past reports like this that have influenced everything. But what do they say the report's about? Well, that is here. This report by the C40 Arup and University of Leeds assesses the impact of urban consumption on climate breakdown and explores the type and scale of changes needed to ensure that the C40 cities reduce their greenhouse gas emissions in line with internationally agreed climate-safe limits. So in other words, all they're doing actually is saying, well, if you're going to have net zero and you're going to meet these targets, this is what you've got to do. So it's quite open that way. I know most people don't read it, so my job is to bring you what it's recommending your life be like in the future. And don't kid about this. This is real. Now in the video I'm going to feature the number of different sections and how net zero is going to affect your lives under this plan. Okay, and we're going to start off with what the report does. I mean, it really goes into details about trousers. So here we are. This is the trouser page that explains just how trousers are going to damage the planet by, all the CO2 involved in making them and supplying them. So here we go. I'm going to zoom into each section of this and tell you just what damage your trousers are going to do to the world. Well, here we are. Number one is Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Well, that's where you get the oil from. That's where you get the nasty fossil fuels from, and they take that fossil fuel to make trousers around the world. So there's the first problem. Let's go on to the next one. Here we are. Now the next point is India. It's not just Saudi that's nasty, it's India. What do? Combustion of fossil fuels in agricultural activities to produce cotton, i.e. operating, for example, a tractor. Wow, you've got to use tractors and things in agriculture, and this again is a contribution to the damage your trousers are doing, because they use the cotton to make your trousers. Well, let's move on to number 3 to see what other terrible things they're going to tell us in this report. Here, in Turkey, wow, they actually feed livestock. You wouldn't believe it, they keep them alive, and they produce things like leather details. Incredible. It can't get much worse. And at this point, of course, you could consider taking your trousers off and just going without them in future. But we'll carry on. And another example of total emissions of CO2 because of China, who make things. So they have the combustion of the fossil fuels from Saudi, and they process emissions in the manufacture of synthetic materials, because a lot of your clothing contains synthetic materials. In fact, without the synthetic materials from oil and gas, etc., we wouldn't have any modern civilization at all. But never mind, we'll carry on to number 5. So, not content in doing away with the oil industry, doing away with the cotton industry, doing away with the leather industry, doing away with the manufacturing industry. On number 5, we have the combustion fossil fuels for transporting, truck, rail, ship and planes. Well, there's a lot of fossil fuel in that, just for trousers. So, it's really getting serious here. Number 6 coming up. And there we are, Bangladesh has to go now. Combustion of fossil fuels within factories involved in the preparation of fabric and production of trousers. So we've got to close all those factories down. You know, the trousers are actually made there. Maybe that's the heart of the trouser problem. Number 7, coming up. And then we, of course, have the combustion of fossil fuels transporting truck, rail, ship or plane, the final products to the retail stores. So, you know, we've got to deliver to their warehouses and stores, etc. So all those delivery drivers, you know, delivering trousers, they've got to go. And then, whilst the trousers are stored in the warehouses, waiting to be delivered to the shops, they're going to use electricity and burn more CO2. It just gets worse. I think number 9 here is a bit of a weak one, but never mind, this is what they've claimed. London electricity consumed in retail stores. So we've got to do away with retail stores. Well, actually, there'll be nothing for them to sell. So to sum that up, and I've got a list here now, oil, we've got to do away with oil. We've got to do with cotton industry. Yeah, let's wipe out the cotton industry worldwide. Forget poor people like Bangladesh and India, just wipe out that business. Animals and all sorts of raising animals and leather. No, wipe all that out. And then we've got to carry on to manufacturing in China, wipe it all out. And then the trucks, rail, planes, ships, all those industries go. And then we've got the clothing factories, of course, that's the heart of the problem in the trouser industry. And then delivery drivers for delivering goods to warehouses and shops. And then the warehouses themselves, because they use electricity. And then the retail stores, we've got to do away with them. Now you think that's mad, wouldn't you? But consultants are paid thousands, hundreds of thousands to do these reports. And this is the plan for net zero. I kid you not. Now, actually, it isn't just trousers, of course, it's clothing. So here is the result of all that work, and then I'm quickly going to go through the different sections from this report to show you a future lifestyle under the net zero plan. So the result of all this on the clothing is this. They want to restrict you to each individual only being allowed to buy on the normal target 8 items of clothing in a year. Every year you're only be allowed to buy 8, that'd be rationed to 8 items of clothing. So you can choose between underpants, pants, it doesn't remember, by the way, it's women, it's blouses, you name it, you know, bras, anything. You're only allowed to buy 8 items of clothing a year. But the more ambitious plan to actually achieve the target is to reduce that to 3 items of clothing a year. I kid you not. This is the world these people live in, and this is what they're trying to impose on you. And I don't think the public are going to put up with that. But there we are. Let's move on to the next subject. So the next target being personal transport like motorbikes, cars and so on. They want to reduce that to 190 vehicles per 1,000 people. That's a fantastic reduction. But the ambitious target, that's the 2030 target, but the 2030 ambitious target is even better. 0 personal transport for anyone. Personal transport for anyone. That is the target, I kid you not. Okay, so now we come to your holidays. Well, under the 2030 plan, as normal, they do what they could put up with or what they really want. So what they could put up with is one flight, one short-haul flight, that's 932 miles every 2 years. But what you really would like as the optimum, one short-haul flight per person every 3 years. And that's 1,500 kilometres or 932 miles range. So you don't get very far, right? So you can forget your Lanzarote, you can forget your Canary Islands. Basically, it's relatively local in Europe. And that's it. You're not allowed any long flights. No. Of course, that's not all. They want you to be running on aviation fuel, that's biofuel. The problem with that, they want to, the 2030 first target is 53% of the fuel would be this, you know, clean fuel. And the ambitious targets make that 100% by 2030. Oh, that's technically impossible, but that doesn't matter to these people. Now, let me tell you the problem with that. It costs 7 times more than the kerosene we now use in aeroplanes. 7 times. So not only will you have a short-haul flight, and I think the 932 miles may be the round trip actually, so it could be even short. Not only will basically aeroplane industry be crashed, but on top of that, if you did manage to get on a plane, you'd be charged the earth. So that's where we are with the aeroplane industry. Next one, please. And now on to food. Well, here we've got, you're allowed on the initial target, but not the eventual initial target, 16 kilograms of meat a day. That works out to 1.7 ounces of meat a day is what you're allowed. So, an 8-ounce little steak would be, about 5 days. Yeah. And then that is about 70 calories, by the way, there. And on dairy, you're allowed 8.7 ounces a day. And again, that works out to about 150 calories. So they're going to limit you to 2,500 calories. Well, that meat and dairy they're allowed comes to a mere it comes to me at 220 calories. So I don't know where the rest is coming from. Probably coming from insects, etc. Obviously, there's vegetables and things. So it's a very tight regime. But they don't want that. They want no dairy and they want no meat, doing away with the dairy and meat industries. But then in Wales, where I live, because we've got a stupid government, really stupid, and what they're saying to farmers, and besides the new inheritance tax affecting all small businesses and farmers and confiscating basically the farms at the end of it, they're telling farmers today they've got about 10% aside of their land for woodland and 10% of their land aside for wilding. So they lose 20% of making it maybe uneconomic to even operate their business. And so basically the idea is to confiscate farms. And you can word it as you wish, but that is really it. Yeah, and it's as bad as that. But then that fits in with all this plan, of course. This fits into the master plan. So there we are on food. And now we'll look at yet another aspect. Of course, on my engineering side, I've quite a background in structures and concrete design and various other things. But here we are, buildings and infrastructure consumption interventions. And here we go with the first line, material efficiency. Well, they want to reduce steel by between 20 to 35%. So besides doing away with the steel industry, we haven't got one now. So somehow magically we're going to use 20% to 35% less steel. Mind you, we're still going to build runway 3 at Heathrow, and we're still going to have a huge expansion in other building work apparently, but no, it's one side not knowing what the other side's doing. And in cement, oh, incredible, in cement we're going to use between 32% and 56% less than we do now. And that's going to manage that with building 3 million homes and so on. How are we going to do that? I don't know. Now, there is such a thing as low carbon cement, but it's very rare, very hard to get hold of. It can't be relied on. We don't know the specifications. So as an engineer, you don't know what product you're dealing with. And besides which, the cost is much, much higher. So, and the availability is not there. So there's pure pie in the sky, absolute pie in the sky. And then enhance building use. Well, so they were going to reduce the demand for new buildings by between 10 and 20%. Yeah. So we're having less building. I didn't know the government was saying that, but yep, the plan is to have less building, so not the 3 million homes maybe. And then material switching. And this is to turn homes building into 75 to 90% wooden instead of blocks and so on, instead of concrete blocks, making wooden buildings, wooden structures. And we're going to build between 75 and 90% of homes will be now wooden structures. And then the low cost cement comes in here as well, and between 50% and 70% would be low carbon cement. Totally impossible. And then of course reuse buildings, low carbon cement, and then it's reuse buildings between 11 and 22%. So, and that's a reduction in virgin metal and petrochemical based materials. This is all pie in the sky. The people who have done this are away in the clouds. They're away with the dicky birds. Really, truly. Next one. And so we end up with the final one, which is household appliances, laptops, all sorts of things like electronics, televisions. Everything's got to last 7 years. And this is just going to be superimposed on you. Maybe you won't be able to buy one unless you've had it for 7 years. I don't know. But some sort of rationing thing to make sure everything's 7 years. Yeah. Okay. That is what they're seeking. That's what they're seeking. Well, this is a map of the C40 cities. There's 40 cities around the world. London is one of them, of course, with, headed by Sadiq Kahn. And they're being extended all the time. And of course, now dozens and dozens of cities, I think 100, have adopted all this nutty stuff in Britain, going for climate emergencies they can't even define and things like this. But this is the starting map, and this all comes from the World Economic Forum. Even the term net zero starts with that. The report that I've been featuring in this video states this as their aim. We are a global collective dedicated to sustainable development. We use technology, imagination and rigour to shape a better world. Well, I've got news for them. You're a pile of kids who haven't got the most basic understanding of how the world works. You haven't got a basic understanding of technology or economics. This is totally beyond belief. The government in the UK, besides its, trying to shut people up on everything, actually, every subject, a government that does not believe in free speech, a government that suppresses it and thinks they can get away with telling you, the masses, that, oh no, it's supporting this, while it does the exact opposite. A government that's either, they're totally uneducated in business. There's no business experience. It's zero on the front bench. But it's much worse than that. And we've actually got a government that is either extremely stupid or evil. You can choose which one, because the effect is the same. They're trashing the economy. And my next video is going to be about how we could have saved 90 billion by not bothering with all this green stuff since 2006. And I'll move on to that straight away, so that won't take long for that video. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you begin to understand when you tell the next lady who follows the green movement, the next woman you know who was a big green zealot, that she'll only be allowed to buy 3 items of clothing a year. She'll have 3 vouchers. There's your item of clothing, there's your blouse, and so on. I don't think they're going to take to it, especially when it makes no difference at all. Because don't forget, we burn more oil, gas, and coal than we've ever done in human history now. It's going up like this. It isn't just the 1% of carbon argument. It's none of this makes any difference at all. It's pure tokenism, and it's tokenism on a very evil plan from the World Economic Forum, the WEF. Anyway, I'll leave it for now. Thank you for watching.